If you haven't seen Max Verstappen driving celebrities insane by giving them a ride, you have seen nothing. Because the moment these F1 drivers get behind the wheel, everyone panics. So, let's take a look at F1 drivers terrifying celebrities with insane speed. But before we dive into these moments, make sure you hit that subscribe button if you want to see iconic moments like these. Now, Formula 1 drivers don't experience speed the same way normal people do. They're experienced, and extreme speed feels casual to them. So, when they invite celebrities, journalists, athletes, or even fellow drivers into the passenger seat, things get interesting very quickly. Lewis Hamilton and Gigi Hadid. Back in 2018, Lewis teamed up with Gigi for an advertising campaign. The idea was simple. Lewis would drive, and Gigi would scream. That was the plan. Except, it didn't go that way at all. Before Lewis ever touched the steering wheel, he ended up sitting in the passenger seat while Gigi drove. At first, it looked calm because of the smooth road and lighthearted conversation. Nothing was crazy, but then Gigi took a corner faster than expected. Suddenly, Lewis Hamilton, the 7-time world champion, was the nervous one. That alone tells you how wild the ride got. She pushed harder, and the car started moving more aggressively. And Lewis actually had to be the one to tell her to slow down. When a man who has raced at over 200 miles per hour tells you to relax, you know something is happening. But the real chaos started when they switched seats. The moment Lewis took control, everything changed. The acceleration hit instantly, corners came fast, and braking was sharp and aggressive. You could tell she was in shock, fear, and pure adrenaline. She screamed, laughed, and held on for dear life. Daniel Ricciardo and Allison Hammond. Daniel Ricciardo is another iconic driver who knows how to brake. He rode with TV presenter Allison Hammond. In 2022, Allison joined Daniel for a ride to experience what it's really like to sit in a race car. From the start, the mood felt playful. They joked around and laughed. Allison even tried to convince herself she was more than ready, but in reality, she wasn't. The second Daniel hit the accelerator, the screaming began. And no, it wasn't scripted. It was real. Full panic screaming. She grabbed the door, shouted Daniel's name, and even tried giving him advice mid-lap. Weight distribution, balance, as if any of that mattered at that speed. But Daniel wasn't planning on slowing down. He pushed harder, threw the car into corners, and let it slide to make it an unforgettable ride. And when he finally stopped the car, Allison said something perfect. It was the scariest thing she had ever done in her life, but also the most exciting. She even asked for a ride another time, which shows she truly enjoyed the adrenaline-packed ride. George Russell and Will. Now imagine trying to interview someone during all this. That's exactly what Will Buxton attempted with George Russell. Will climbed into the passenger seat with one goal in his mind, to ask questions and get the interview done. But George? He had other plans. Drive. The lap started calmly, and Will asked about George's hometown, his education, and his life. And George answered him casually, like they were sitting in a cafe instead of flying around a track. But with every question, George went faster. Braking was sharper, acceleration turned harder, lines tightened, and Will's voice started changing. He became less confident, more strained, yet he still asked questions like favorite food, favorite holiday, dream car, celebrity crush, and more. But George kept pushing, and by the time they started drifting through corners, Will was holding on for dear life. And yet, somehow, he still finished the interview. It was equal parts impressive and terrifying. George Russell and Ed Sheeran. George Russell took singer Ed Sheeran for a high-speed drive in Miami. Ed admitted that he had once crashed a car before, so he wasn't used to driving fast or handling powerful cars. George, however, stayed calm and confident behind the wheel. During the drive, George pushed the car to high speeds, sometimes going over 200 kilometers per hour, even on tight and tricky parts of the track. Ed reacted with surprise and shock because the speed and quick movements felt intense and scary to him. George explained how difficult it was to drive at such high speeds, especially around sharp corners. But for him, it was normal since he raced in Formula 1. He also said he enjoyed this kind of driving more than qualifying. Max Verstappen and his girlfriend. And then there's Max Verstappen. If you haven't seen Max driving celebrities insane, you truly haven't seen anything. During an interview, Max was asked what it's like to drive a normal car. Seconds later, he was challenged to prove it. Drive a regular road car on a racetrack and push it to its limit. To make things even better, his girlfriend Michaela sat right next to him. She knew what she had signed up for when Max cut the first corner. He didn't treat it like a normal car and attacked corners. He braked late, pushed the car way beyond what anyone would expect, and his girlfriend's reaction was priceless. You know how it goes: shock, laughter, and pure disbelief. And let me be honest, this was one of the most dangerous rides because obviously it was Max Verstappen behind the wheel. Whether it's an F1 car or a regular one, he drives the same way. Flat out. Lewis Hamilton and James Corden. Another iconic moment like this happened when Lewis Hamilton drove James Corden. The challenge was simple. One lap, as many questions as possible. The chaos started almost immediately. And before Lewis even went full throttle, James was already screaming at the top of his lungs. But he kept asking questions like his favorite movie, his favorite football player. Shortly, those questions turned into noise when fear took over. Then Lewis decided to really push the car to its limit by braking harder, cutting corners super fast, and literally showing no mercy. James had completely lost it. His voice started cracking, his body all tensed up. By the end of the lap, he could barely stand, and his legs felt like jelly. And honestly, that reaction is very human when F1 drivers are the ones behind the wheel. Johnny Herbert and Lewis Hamilton. At the 2017 United States Grand Prix in Austin, world record sprinting legend Usain Bolt was brought to the event by Puma, his longtime sponsor, as part of a special hashtag geared for faster promotion. Bolt, widely regarded as the fastest man in human history with multiple Olympic golds and world records in the 100-meter and 200-meter races, joined forces with Mercedes-AMG Petronas and Formula One to create a unique experience. Before the race, Bolt was given a high-speed lap around the Circuit of the Americas by Lewis Hamilton, a multiple-time F1 world champion. The idea was simple. Put the fastest man on two legs into a car driven by one of the fastest drivers on four wheels and capture his reaction. Bolt enjoyed the thrill, but even he admitted the speed was intense, showing that racing a powerful car around a track was a very different kind of fast compared to sprinting. Lewis and Frank Williams. One of the strongest moments came when Lewis drove Frank Williams. Frank wasn't just a passenger, he was a legend. The founder of Williams Racing, a man who built champions, a man who continued leading his team even after a devastating accident left him quadriplegic. Watching Frank during that lap was emotional. The joy on his face was real. The feeling of being back on track meant everything to him. Lewis drove with care, with respect. But he still let Frank feel speed, the brakes, the magic. When the lap ended, Frank called it unforgettable, and knowing it was one of his final moments on track made it even more special. Lewis and engineer Bono. Formula One drivers don't just scare celebrities, they also scare their teammates. In late 2024, Lewis Hamilton took his longtime engineer Bono for a farewell lap. After years of working together, Lewis wanted to give him one last memory. Bono was nervous, but Lewis didn't disappoint. The lap was fast, aggressive, and emotional. And by the end, Bono's thank you said it all. It wasn't just a ride, it was a goodbye. Lando Norris and commentator Alex Jacques. Then there's Lando Norris, current F1 champion. We know he's a charismatic and funny guy, and let's not forget, he's absolutely a beast in a car. When commentator Alex Jacques joined him for a lap, Alex tried to do his job. Live commentary, corner calls, analysis. Lando made it as difficult as possible, flat out through corners, late braking, no warning. Alex's voice stayed professional, but the excitement and fear were obvious. And when it ended, his reaction was pure joy. He loved every second. We've seen models scream, comedians panic, athletes beg drivers to slow down, journalists forget their questions, fans cry with happiness, and every time, the result is the same. Once you ride a Formula One driver, you realize something important. They don't drive fast, they live fast. So, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that subscribe button and let us know your favorite moment in the comments below.